was like, I should probably at least know what the fuck Dave's doing before I jump on this, just in case he asks me questions about himself, you know?
It's funny that you're drinking an espresso because I actually did some digital artwork of you to promote the podcast. It's you looking smart in a suit with glasses, with you got an espresso in one hand and the Ninja Cream in the other.
Perfect. Except my
Yeah,
Ninja Creamies aren't made to be like low calorie like every other poor bodybuilders are.
yeah.
You
One
actually
day I
put
might
Mine are
tasty
elite tier
ingredients in
only.
them.
Yeah, I like the recipes that you've been posting because I like how you love dates because I love dates.
Yeah, man, they're good.
Yeah,
I had a salted caramel pretzel one yesterday that I had with dates, and it was so good.
yeah, yum. Fucking anything with pretzel. Anything
Mm.
Yeah,
pretzel. What about
I
the
go to
bodybuilding.
are you a
I'm on the
what's
fan
that,
of
Jay?
bodybuilding
uh,
shitty
yeah.
low fat creamy.
Yeah, but it's not like you have to. So like I think mine
Yeah,
like
no, yeah.
average like maybe 10 to 15 grams of fat per pint and
That's not
something
fun.
around about it's not too bad, man. Some of them are
What are they
25.
like?
But
550, 600 calories? Or,
yeah, I mean I don't know because I just make them.
yeah.
But it'd be roughly around that, yeah. But like yesterday's one, man, I literally boiled pretzels into milk so that it tasted like pretzels, Like I took the time and effort
Yeah.
to commit.
Nice. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on gingerbread flavor?
I love gingerbread. Actually, you know what? Now that you said that, I'm going to make sure because we're making gingerbread for Christmas this year. I'm going to steal some extras and maybe make a gingerbread creamy. That would be fucking
Yeah,
elite.
well, I was thinking you could have crushed up pfeffernusse through it.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be
Yeah.
good. I haven't really found many fuffanos around here, actually. To be fair,
Really? I thought there'd
they're
be
You
a
not
gotta
lot.
that common. They're
go to
not that common in
Germany,
Japan. And
Mm.
yeah, Poland as well. Like all of this, like
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of like there's quite a few, man. But I haven't seen them so much around here in Spain.
I grew up on them because my dad's dad was born in Poland, in Warsaw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're
Love
real
them.
good, man. We got a bag of them and introduced Kyle to them in Prague. Actually, they're so good.
He
Yeah,
hadn't had them
nice.
before.
No, I'd never seen it before. And the ones we
Oh,
found there too were
really?
great, man. They were like 1% fat. So I was like, dude, this bag of
Yeah.
stuff goes down so easy.
I
It's like
bet.
mochi.
Could do a carb
Where are
load on that.
you? Where are you now? Are you back at home base?
Yeah, back in Valencia. I'll be here till March.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we're here. We'll be here every year for 6 months, like across Christmas now. So it's always like September to March.
Oh, then you'll be
Then
over to
next year,
Columbus, right?
yeah. Well, next year's going to be wild, man. Like I leave here. I think I'll be sending Liz to Portugal with my suitcase and going straight to Columbus. And
Yeah.
then it'll be Columbus, Detroit. They're next to each other, so do 2 shows with Ethan there, and then back to Portugal. And then in the middle of the year, or August time, we've got to go to Paraguay momentarily. So we'll be going there before then. I'm just going to time it to line up with the Olympia. So
Just straight from the airport. Yeah.
yeah, which is just as man, it's just as long as Europe to get to get to Vegas from South America. It's still 17 hours. It's still a terrible flight, but like better than
Yeah.
going all the way to Europe and then all the way back.
Mm.
Yeah.
Why'd you
Yeah.
choose
Big.
Spain as your home base? As most of the year.
So Valencia over Christmas time is the probably one of the best winters that you can
Mm.
have in Europe. It's like this morning was actually the first time it was properly cold. Like it was 6 degrees this morning. It said it feels like 2, but normally it's like 6 to 8 degrees in the morning, and then it's 15 degrees by lunchtime. And this is across like December, so there's like
Yeah,
that's as
that's
cold as it gets. Whereas when we were in Prague, it was like -1.
yeah.
And it snows and shit like that. So like it's just a very good winter, and then like it's just an awesome city, man. Like it's really well priced. The people are happy. The weather's fantastic. Like it's very flat. Like we just exist on bicycles here. Like you
Yeah,
can get
nice.
anywhere within the town, like that we're in, like the area we're in, within 25 minutes on a bike, pretty much. Um, yeah, but it's awesome, and it's like it's big enough without being too big and like so city like trumped. Like we're like about a I don't know 10-minute walk from the beach. If when we first get here in like the start of like the end of the year, it's still warm enough to go there and chill. And it's just a really cool spot, man.
Yeah,
And
Valencia
because
is
is
Spain's good for like your business tax and everything, or do you still run your business out of Australia, or what do you do there?
America.
Okay.
Yeah, so the business is technically in America,
in Texas.
and then and no Wyoming.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's been there for quite some time now. And then yeah, that's where it's situated. Yeah, that's a bit
Well,
Yeah.
different.
hopefully, Donald Trump starts dropping income taxes and you'll be better off.
Yeah.
Better off. Yeah. Well, hopefully Donald Trump starts dropping income taxes and you'll be better off. Yeah. Well, hopefully Donald Trump starts dropping income taxes and you'll be better off. Better off.
Yeah, it's their dollar has actually gone backwards, unfortunately. So like, it's not the most ideal situation, but it's still better than the Australian dollar, you know. So
Yeah. I've actually, me and the missus have been talking about like moving out of Australia for retirement, just because I'm getting
mm.
the other countries seem to be better, starting to be crossing over to better standards of living.
Yeah, look, man, you know, if in all honesty, if Australia was in closer proximity to more countries, I would
Mm,
100% live there. Like,
mm,
quality of life, availability of health services, food quality, gym pricing, like it's actually like, even just in regards to a lack of corruption, like it's a very good country, man. And I
what
don't think
state?
many people that live there actually appreciate it. But
Where do you live in Australia? What state?
so I was born in a little small town called Dolby, which is
Yeah.
like 2.5 hours northwest of Brisbane. I lived most of my life in Brisbane, and then I spent 5 years in Sydney, and then the last 4 years or 5 years on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, so you've never been to Adelaide
Yeah,
either?
never. I've
Yeah,
never
same
been
as
to Adelaide.
Cam.
I've never been to Perth. I've
Yeah.
never been to Northern Territory.
Adelaide's, you don't miss much. It's very quiet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like, I mean, I've it's not. It's never been a place that it's kind of like, people who live on the East Coast just go up and down.
mm,
To go down and around is just like, it's just this little bit extra effort. Like, why am I
yeah,
going to go there?
And there's nothing down there, so
Well, it's, I'm
yeah,
like, I'm not really sure what's there. There's people, I'm sure,
yeah.
but
Yes.
you know,
There's not much. There's nothing to see. There's definitely nothing to see. No,
yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
Like the only good thing has been lately is the pre-COVID was the real estate jump. That was the only good thing about
yeah. Well, I
Adelaide.
mean, that was very lucrative for us on the Gold Coast too.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
We bought one of our places there just as COVID had kind of like started to hit, and we'd said to them like, oh, we're not sure about this price, and we got a pretty good deal on them. We also had learned that they needed to buy somewhere else. It was their real
Yeah,
estate
okay.
agent was useless, man. She gave away way too many pieces of information that we used to our advantage. And yeah, like, I think we sold it within 3 years, 4 years, and it doubled,
Yeah.
quite literally doubled.
Yeah,
I just
that's
did
happened in
that.
my first house. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's crazy.
So
The only problem is you realize,
I'm in the same boat here now.
yeah. The only thing is, if your house doubles, all the other houses have doubled around you. So how are you really getting money?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
well, if you try to buy again in there, it's obviously a problem, right? That's the
Yeah.
biggest
Yeah.
issue, is that people think, oh, it's amazing, and they sell, and then like, oh yeah, but now you have to buy back in, like,
Yeah.
So it just
Do a
depends on
bigger
what you're doing. We
buy-in.
we weren't
Yeah.
buying back in, so
Yeah.
we were right. Well, actually, we bought into Europe, so like, we have a visa here in Spain, and we had to spend an astronomical amount of money here to have that visa given to us, so that we can live freely here without border issues.
Yeah, the
So,
news article said that you spent $1 million on it, didn't they?
500,000 euro, yeah.
Is
So
that what the
you have
news
to have
article said?
you have to have you have to have
Wasn't there
five. No, that's the reality. You have to spend
Yeah.
500,000 euro cash. You have to have that constantly invested in the country to sustain your visa. So you could have a $1 million house here, a 1 million euro house, but you can have a €500,000 loan for that. But you have to have at least 500,000 euro of investment in the country. You can't get it anymore. It's called the golden visa. It's gone now.
I think that's something similar to Monaco, isn't it? You have to have so much in the bank and stuff.
Fuck. Monaco, you probably need to have 50 million, man. That place is just filled with rich people only.
Yeah.
But
that's probably why they keep spending money
place.
there, because they have to spend money. That's the whole point of paying no taxes, so they spend money.
Yeah, I think there's like a very small population in Monaco that are actually from Monaco too. I don't think there's many actual residents there. It's mainly just holiday homes and stuff.
I know shit things with France, like you got that. Obviously, I follow the F1s, and the France people, even though there's no point even moving to Monaco for tax haven, because if they were born in the country of France, they have to pay tax for life, even if they leave.
Yeah, same as America.
Yeah, it's weird.
Really?
You pay. Yeah, America's the same.
Tax for life.
You can't denounce your citizenship or something.
No.
You can do that in America, but they also have exit tax, and then they also sometimes have ongoing tax, depending on the degree of money that you made. So, like, let's just say you're like a high income earner, they could say to you, all right, you now owe me this much when you leave on money that you've already paid tax on, because it's based on your wealth. And then you also owe us for the following years at this nominal amount as well, if you want to denounce.
Yeah. Or you get countries like in the UAE where they actually pay their citizens based on the profits of the land.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things. Like here in Spain, if you're a sole proprietor and you own your own business, if you like just like a personal trainer, or even if you just own a shop, you pay tax no matter what. So you don't pay tax on what you earn. You have a minimum amount of tax you have to pay per month. Yeah. You have to pay per month from day one. So like you're already in the red. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's heaps of different places around the world that have all these different things, like Dubai and whatnot. But
Like you're saying with Australia,
never
though,
as easy as people make it out.
Australia's probably the best place in the world to get a good paying job with no education. If you just leave school, you tend to get a trade. You can't
Trade
do that
pays
anywhere
very
else in
well
the
in
world.
Australia.
Yeah.
No, man. Most of the trade that I've ever seen everywhere over here in Europe is immigrants that are getting paid a pittance.
Mm. Yeah,
Dubai's the same, man. Dubai's got a hidden slave trade there that's
Yeah, I
absolutely
know.
an absolute
Yeah.
debauchery. Like people think Dubai is like really like fancy place, and it is on the surface. But when you actually
Yeah.
look around and underneath the curtain, there's just lots and lots of immigrants that are just under slave labor, getting paid an absolute pittance, living in squallows. It's pretty bad, man.
Yeah, because you can get things delivered at the same price in the shop because those deliver get paid nothing.
Yeah, it's a weird place, man. I'm not particularly fond of Dubai, but
yeah, it's like you said, very superficial and like flaunt people that like to flaunt.
it's fake
So
status, and for some.
anyway, so everyone watching this and more interested in bodybuilding, Dean McKillop, one of the best probably coaches that ever come out of Australia, I guess. Coaching these two good boys as well. So he's been very successful. I guess that's why he called it Flex Success.
Actually, not no, but I mean, you could have said that we were thinking it into existence.
Yeah, manifesting.
Mm.
We've got a lot of people's questions for you. Did you want to start with yours, Dave?
Yeah, we were discussing like topics to talk about. And one thing that I guess I was sort of wondering is like the team that you've built over the years. I've kind of been a part of it, watched it develop, and it's really easy. I get comments from people on the outside saying Dean only coaches pros or Dean only coaches top athletes or whatever. But I know like now you're selective with who you take on, but from experience as well as seeing it, I've seen you have like a knack, I guess, with not telling people to act like a pro, but leading with example in encouraging people how they should act. Like there's just a kind of unspoken, I guess, what would you say, like
an expectation
like
of
an expectation, but more like you live by a standard and people seem to follow it. And I'm wondering if that's something that you've consciously developed, or if that's something that you just have a knack for and you didn't realize that you had, or if it's something that you put a lot of time and thought into developing, or like what your take on that is.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, like you've only got to look at a couple of the like where they started and where they are now pictures that I've put over the last like 6 months or whatever it is to say that is an absolute bullshit claim. Like there's some guys
I know that it is,
from,
but
I know,
comments.
I'm speaking to the people that have said it,
Yeah.
The truth is, man, is I take on people based on what I think their capacity to commit is about and their personality. I want people that are generally very coachable, and I want people that understand that there's a degree of work that is necessary in order to achieve these like goals that some people have that are sometimes even outlandish, right? Whether or not I've like conjured up this idea, I don't think so, man. I think like I've just come from a life that has been centered around like sports and athletic performance from as young as I can remember. Like I started playing soccer at 4. I didn't stop until I was 22. When I wasn't playing soccer, I was doing athletics. And athletics was at school, and I went to a private all boys school that required you to do this like outside of school hours too. So like you were doing it at 3 to 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon, and you were doing it on the weekend. And then there was cricket, and then there was this. Like I just existed in spaces that were always centered around high performance, and I always had like senior roles. Like I was always like either a part of the senior team or like collective group of people, or I was a captain. So like over time, I think I just was developed naturally into a leader's role. And yeah, like I had a very, very high sense of expectation on myself and standards of myself. And all I think I do as a coach is just ask people to try and meet those expectations as best as they can. And funnily enough, now, man, I probably spend more time with my guys telling them to relax as bodybuilders than I do trying to get them to be like the best bodybuilder ever by thinking they have to do absolutely everything and that they have to suffer and all this kind of stuff, I mean, you're one of those people, Dave, for sure, for a period, like, like everything's on all the time. And there's like, there's maybe a moment there isn't. Like John's like that. There's so many of my guys like this.
That was probably one of the biggest like jumps that I made with the last season that I did was I learned to like just put things in their place. Like I wasn't less intense, but everything just had a place.
Yeah, it's
you know
like
where to
the
put your
action.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, most of the time people's actions are actually pretty good, but it's the perception of their actions that fuck them up.
Yeah.
You know, like when you really break down like what it means to be a great bodybuilder, and you think like, what are the things that I need to do each day? And it's not that difficult. Like, and there's not that many things, right?
Yeah.
But if you think that you can't just like even if it's like missing a meal by 1 hour or switching chicken for fucking fish or something super simple, like that does some people in, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like these like associations that people have with success in bodybuilding that are unnecessary. So and maybe this is even a learned thing too, Dave, now that I think about it, because like in soccer, and then when I came up through like my professional stuff and was doing strength and conditioning in football teams, rugby league teams, I can tell you now, when they were on, they were on. But when they were off, man, they were off. Like very different to bodybuilding, because you can relax a little bit more outside of the training and whatnot. And like eating is to performance. So it's less about like dialing everything up perfectly, but they knew how to relax, man. And the guys that knew how to relax would return to training and be amazing. The guys that relaxed at training were also, funnily enough, the lazy ones outside of it too, you know? So like these like professional athletes in those sports, I think, really understand how to like zone out and how to then dial up.
Yeah. Cam, you got any questions?
Yeah,
You
sure.
got more, Dave? You got more?
No, that's awesome. Yeah.
Cam?
No, like that. I don't think we've ever had a conversation between you and me, Dean, about expectations or anything around that. Like it's just
Well, that's
been like
what I
an
was
evolution.
kind of saying. I
Everything's
haven't
just been like
either,
an evolution.
but it's like a lead from the front. Like Dean kind of carries himself in a way where when I came on board, I was like, this is an expectation that I need to uphold, and I want to perform in a certain way because I'm part of that team. So it wasn't like I was ever told you need to perform in this or you need to, present yourself in a professional manner, but I wanted to because I was wanting to live up to the expectation as well. So,
Can I just say that? So it's interesting that is the case. I will say this, that there are people that I've coached over time that I haven't even just done this with body. I've certainly done it with the bodybuilding content, but I've had these conversations with younger individuals sometimes about their behavior as people, which isn't typical of a bodybuilding coach. But you are, so like maybe it's like you and I align like to a degree, and that this is sort of the way in the path you're like, you kind of like, it's like a moth to a flame. You're like, I like the look of this. So you kind of go towards it. So I do have to have these conversations sometimes, but actually the truth probably is that everyone that I've had to do this with repeatedly ends up like eventually probably not being coached, because it just doesn't, it's not a congruent relationship. So it's maybe that, you as individuals, as my clients, are also looking to this expectation and seeing it and just seeing how it works and liking it,
I feel like you, Dean, have built this image and reputation, stature, demeanor, however you want to call it. And that people now are like, you're one of those, all your clients look polished. They post, even just when they post their pictures, they're not, like their checking pictures are where they need to be. They're not, you see other people that are just less polished. And I think because you've got that standard now, people sign up to you knowing that if I'm going to get Dean, these are the things I need to tick off the boxes. Whereas when they go to more low level coach, they're like, I can whatever this weekend, because that's what they portray, whereas they're more lax than you. And I think you draw those clients now to you because of the image you've set.
Yeah, no, I'd certainly agree, but I would also like maybe say that, like for people that then accept that as probably their own fault as a coach, because that is one thing that I just won't accept. Like there's a couple of people on my roster that have bad check-in photos, and they get it from me every week. So much so, like I've denied a response before. Hey man, I'm not doing your check-in this week.
Send me better pics.
Until this is fixed, like I can't do my job. So like, why are you even sending it?
Yeah.
And I think, I'm lucky enough that I suppose, yes, I've built a reputation that allows me to pull rank hard if I need to. And other people maybe couldn't be quite as I don't know, forward as that. But as a coach, I think you accept, there's two things to consider here. You have a certain degree of standards that you have as a person and as a coach, and then you have expectations of people. I don't necessarily think that my standards have to be matched with expectations, but I would like them to. So we get them as close as we possibly can.
What's one of your biggest struggles you've had as a coach? in your whole career? One that stands out to you where you're like, oh, once I've jumped over that hurdle, like, everything got easier.
I don't know if anything's actually gotten easier. This last year was actually quite difficult in that it was probably my first year where I didn't have a season to focus hard on. So, like, as an Australian bodybuilding coach, you actually have it pretty damn good. You coach people in April and you coach people in September. They're the like really intense periods. And I found it quite easy to dial up my like requirements of check-ins and stuff like that in a condensed fashion very easily when I was doing that.
You just hold your breath and get it done, and then it's over.
Yeah, it's like, like it's 4 to 6 weeks of like really intense work, lots of check-ins, lots of emotions, lots of time spent. But it's kind of like there's this big build to it too. You have this off season, and everyone's getting a bit better and a bit better and a bit better, and it's like really exciting. But last year, like I think my season started in March for Australia, and it didn't end until about 3 weeks ago. So it was always like, oh, fuck, man, I've got another one on this weekend. Oh, fuck, I've got another one on this weekend. Oh, fuck, I've got another one on. And like the UK coaches have to deal with this, and like pro coaches have to deal with this a lot. So that was certainly difficult. It's like trying to learn to manage my time better and understand that I'm probably not a season-based coach anymore. And in all honesty, man, I also had a bit of like a sad moment for season A, in that like I think I only had like 3 or 4 guys competing at the time. And it felt like a bit of like I was like, oh, like this isn't a very successful season for me. For the season, even the season C that's just gone. And because I'm so used to having like 10 and 14 guys. And then I thought, hang on a minute, like I had to like step back. Hang on, like you've also had, a great season with Cam in August. You've also had a great season now with Ethan. You've also had a great season with Paul. Like I had all of these incredibly successful moments. But because I was so used to that being my thing, like, man, I remember 2 years ago, something like I almost out of the 5 guys in the overalls, I had I think 4. When Matt O'Reilly was competing, I think I had 3 out of 5 in that.
John,
I had John, I had Matt, and I also had somebody else in there.
Mitch,
Dawny, yeah, Dawny.
Well, Mike,
because John squeezed under and Dawny squeezed and did the under 100s, and then Matt did the over 100s. So I had 3, and I almost nearly could have had like an under 80s in that one too. I like just missed it. Yeah,
well, Dean,
Ryan got second.
You're always going to have less clients in Australia if you keep turning them all pro.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, I mean, yeah.
A lot of the clients have moved on from amateur to pro. So.
This is exactly it. But like, I had this, and this is a perception thing. I had this like for the last 5-10 years, it's been season A, season B, or season A, season C now, and that was like what I was gunning for. And it was like, all right, first pro win, cool. And then I was like, oh, I've taken like 3 overalls now. Oh, that's awesome. And then this year was just a bit of like I don't really have that many. Like, I remember I sat down at my desk and went, let me just double check my client list here. I'm like, oh no, I still have the same amount of people on my books. Like, I've had this, but yeah, that was not tough, but like a bit of a moment for me. And honestly, man, I really, really love coaching amateurs.
Yeah.
As much as I love coaching pros.
What's the biggest difference? Yeah, what's the biggest thing that you find is different?
With pros, there's actually a lot less reward at the end of the season, even in a top 3. Top 3 and above, the reward is as good, if not better. But for first year pros that may or may not get in top 3, or even guys that have turned pro that are like just on the fringe of like, they might be like top 10 guys at like really good quality shows. And like, that's fucking awesome, right? Like top 10 at every show is amazing. But these are guys who have now won as previous amateurs. So for them, a 10, although it is a goal, it's got less, there's less accolades. So like, you're not getting recognition for your placing. You have to really focus hard on the recognition of your progress. And that's fucking pretty hard to cop like repeatedly. I think like top 5, every time that happens to me, I'm like, that's like a real solidification of that person as their potential for a pro. And then there's been instances, like look at Matt O'Reilly this year is a great example. Like, you're talking about a guy who's an elite tier amateur bodybuilder and an elite tier like competitor in WBFF. And his best placing this year was he got a marked placing at the Texas Pro of 15, and he looked fucking mad. But like, that's a big fall from grace, let's just say, despite the fact that it's an incredibly successful prep.
Yeah.
And like a tumultuous week. Like from a coaching and client perspective, the fact that we even pulled that together was crazy. Those 2 weeks in America. So it's you have to like really remember that the placing is less important in the pros and more so the progress. And you're going to get no recognition as a coach on the pro like scene at all until you have somebody that's either like a popular dude or wins a show. And then even when you win a show, you're probably not going to get any recognition. So like me coaching more pros now, I probably get less recognition of success from like public individuals than what I do as a coach coaching amateurs in Australia.
Would you say now that your coaching is coming up and you've got more pros on the roster and that, would you say you have less outreach to amateurs and less people reaching out to you?
I think there's been a bit of for as long as I can remember, there's always been a waiting list of some description with us. And I think that is certainly because of that, there's an expectation that the waiting list will exist forever, and it probably will because we just don't overreach ourselves with numbers. But I think we get less people that inquire because of that, because they assume that they won't be accepted. Yeah. And we do have an application process, not a confirmation process. So I think there's less of a outreach that because maybe this is a thing too, Dave. Like we have an expectation of the quality of our people in their behaviors, not necessarily in their physiques. So yes, to a degree, but I'll only ever probably keep a roster of pros that's relatively similar to the amount that I have now, because I think it's good to have a healthy balance of two for everyone.
Yeah, I'd love to get to your level one day, coaching a bit more pros because I do mainly lifestyle and like you were saying before with the bodybuilding or personal coaching, I do a lot of am I your mentor in life or am I just your coach? And sometimes it starts crossing the boundary of call me up on the weekend. Oh, they've been like 6 months clean of alcohol. Oh, no, my mate around my mates drinking. What should I do? I'm like, oh, this is not what I'm paid for you. I'm not here for you to call while you're out drinking. But yeah, it's definitely a different experience when you can have better clientele. Another question I wanted to ask you was when did you decide or when did you know you don't want to or did you ever want to be a pro like IFBB pro and compete? Or did you always love coaching more?
I never had the goal of becoming a pro. I don't even know if I actually had a legitimate goal of winning an overall or anything in Australia, to be perfectly honest. I kind of fell into bodybuilding. I wish I started it when I was younger. I think I would have done really, really well. I think I have the genetic capacity to have done quite well. Because I started late, like I competed first when I was like 26. And then I pretty much just went back into life for a couple of years and then I competed again. And then after that, I took it seriously for about 18 months. And man, I think I just have like a very good sense of reality. And that is like at my height, when I competed in the UK, when I probably looked my best, I was like 93 kilos. And I wouldn't do well in a 2-1-2, even if I did turn pro, I'd get absolutely dwarfed. And that means I need to be an open guy. And I certainly cannot carry that degree of muscle, nor would I be willing to give up the life that would be required to achieve that. So, and then at that stage, I was also doing very well at coaching. And I get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing guys progress and succeed. So it was just that my passion lied more in coaching, man. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I do really like competing though, but yeah.
It is hard starting later in life because I was into sport like you a lot earlier playing basketball. I didn't do my first bodybuilding show for 30. So yeah, like you said, it's now I'm 5'7", trying to get to because all I'm good at is open and trying to put on that weight at a later age is definitely I feel would be harder now than what it would have been if I did it when I was younger.
Yeah, and it's like obviously like the time spent up there is the other thing. I think like if you've got a lifestyle that's set up to be conducive to bodybuilding, you can probably do it through to like early 40s, no problems. Like especially if you start late. But I mean, I wouldn't be willing to give up the life that I live for what would be required for me to get up there. And like the last time I did this properly, like I got up to 114 or 115 kilos. And it was uncomfortable, man. And the food that I had to eat to get up there was massive. Maybe I wouldn't have to get up as high this time. I don't know. But because each time it seems to be increasingly a little bit easier. I found as a coach to get people up to new degrees of muscularity with less body fat on less food when it's done really well. But I still know what that would mean to my lifestyle. And I'm not willing to be that immobile anymore.
Yeah, well, not only that, like if your coaching business is taking off, it would be stupid to pursue bodybuilding. Like you said, like what are the odds of anyone making a living off bodybuilding prize money? You know, if you have to be so good, you might as well just, for a better quality of life, your business is going to keep you sustained financially than what bodybuilding would.
Yeah. It's an extension of my passion for it. It's funny to think too, like, it could have been the case that the year that Cam turned pro was actually going to be my last show in Australia. And like, I actually have that's why I left.
Why I went to England.
That's such an
I was like, fuck, so that was a missed opportunity. Maybe in the one time in my life I could have possibly like pushed him,
Blame Cam.
Hindsight's 2020, man. Because I remember that year, like I was fully locked in, right? And I was like, this is going to be good. And then I got delayed and COVID and all this kind of shit because I was meant to do the season C. And then I was like really excited to be able to compete alongside my clients, but I was contending with this idea of like, fuck, man, like if I get them in the best shape that they've ever been in and I beat them, I think I'm okay with that because like they're the best they've ever been. But if they're even just slightly off, then there's going to be this like, did you lose focus? Or some idiots would say like, do you think that they would ever like prep the person to not beat them? Like, fuck, like that's a bad move for business, right? Like, I don't know why anyone would do that. That's lose. But then when I then moved and like at that time there was like, Mike Halusi was competing and he was trying to get through in his pro card. Cam was, and I'm like, I would have actually hated to have competed to get alongside them, I think, because I just wouldn't want that potential disconnect of like people not recognizing that I'm giving them everything that I have. Now to like someone like Taylor Crabtree's credit, he fucking just competed in Adelaide like this last season with I think like 11 people or some shit, or seven guys at Adelaide or something. But then he decided to forego nationals for the benefit of his team, which I think was like a really good choice and a very mature choice for a very young dude. But hindsight's 2020, man. I'm glad I never did compete against the guys. And it was kind of fun to compete abroad and have the support from Australia there, as opposed to like doing it in my own place.
That's such an iconic show as well. That one.
I remember getting your check-ins from when you were in England and you were all fucked up, like because you were in prep as well. Like your face was like jacked in as well.
Yeah, man. Dude, I'll never forget the night that Cam turned pro, right? So like I just finished my area in where we were staying in the UK. We'd moved to Portugal, and the place that we got was one of these classic cases of like Airbnb, like catfished us. In that it said that it was like, a shared room. We were only there for a week or something. It said shared house. They're cool. But when we got there, it was literally a fucking 1-bedroom apartment. And this guy picks us up from the airport. He's like, yeah, so you can either choose to like sleep on the bed that's in the lounge room or in the bedroom. And we were like, what? And he just didn't write the ad properly. It was a 1-bedroom apartment that we shared with this guy. So we ended up choosing the one in the lounge room. And I was super glad we did because the bedroom one was tiny. And like, I needed to be on my laptop. So like it was like 2 or 3 a.m. in the middle of the night. I'm sat on the couch. Liz is on the ground there. I've got my phone in my hand, my laptop on here. I've got headphones in and I'm going between, like, hey, 45 minutes out, and then fixing diets here, 60 minutes out and whoever it was. And I sat there the whole night. And then like Cam wins and I'm like, yes, like, shh. It's like, and people think that like coaching online is this glamorous thing. Like, this motherfucker gets to travel the world and coach people. Yeah, okay.
That's the first time I ever went to an Australian Nationals. First time I ever my coaching my missus there as well, and the first time with Dave and I in that convention center. That's such a big show. I'll remember that always. And then meeting Cam. Got some other questions as well from people. We touched on that. What's your proudest coaching moment?
Man, honestly, it would have to be like Ethan's win, to be honest.
For
a few reasons, like Ethan and I have been working together for a long time. He is a guy that has verbalized his intent from the very beginning. I remember seeing him as an amateur compete season after season. I thought, man, this dude is fucking relentless. Like, he's just going to keep going until he gets his pro card. And that was pretty much his mentality. And as an outsider looking in, I thought he was maybe like a little bit like cocky and arrogant and like, oh, this guy like talks the talk a lot, And then when I finally got to speak with him, I was like, oh, he's actually one of the nicest people I've ever met. I feel like a bit of an asshole now. And like he was the first person that I got to coach in a pro show in person in Portugal when he came over, and I just moved over here as well. Like, that was a really cool opportunity. And like, as a dude who's just like pushed really hard, he had his like first like slip, I suppose you could say, like mentally this year, in that he really struggled after the Dubai show. And he took like a little bit of time to himself, and he's like, you know what, I just need some moments to sort of like get my head right. And I was like, cool. And then I had a call with him actually one day in Atlanta, Georgia, when I was there with Cam, and I was walking the streets, and we were just chatting and catching up and making sure he's okay. He's like, I think I'm probably going to be ready again in a couple of weeks. And then it was go time, and man, to be able to just see like it all come together, like it was for sure our best showing as well. Like, you know, I did really well with him in Portugal. He had a couple of like shows where he didn't really get a look in. He didn't really feel like he peaked as well. And these two shows were like bang on, and he got great feedback. And it was nice to see a guy who I think actually even like admittedly a lot of people in Australia had written off as a classic competitor. Like they say, like they recognize his like ability to work is fucking massive. Like he's relentless, man. But I don't know if there's as many people that would say like they were the person that thought was going to win. And for him to do it once was amazing. For him to solidify it a week later with an even better showing was like, yeah, fuck you, everyone. Like that's confirmation that he showed up the way that he showed up, and that this wasn't an accident, you know.
And the first
and his
time
feedback
for
from
an
the judges
Australian.
too. Yeah. And then he said to me, man, I've applied for the Arnolds, and I was like, cool, bro. Like let's go. Like, you know, and then that's obviously come to fruition. But yeah, seeing his happiness was I know how hard he's worked and how much he gives back to even his family at the moment. So it was very cool.
Yeah, so Guinness Book of Records, first Australian to win a classic physique show too.
Yeah, and then first to qualify obviously for the Olympia. Even that, I think,
Arnold.
from a coaching perspective, no, Arnold down too. From a coaching perspective, it's like very rewarding. Like the first year that he's required to win twice to make the show, the Olympia, it's happened too. So like now that's even like cooler, you know.
Would have been bittersweet if he only won once, like first show, but no qualification.
Yeah, man. And then it was like, then you'd have to decide, like, what are we going to do next? Like, this is another thing for pros, like trying to figure out where to win shows and where to compete. Like, as an Australian bodybuilder that's a pro is difficult. I take that back. As a classic competitor, it's not fucking difficult. You can compete anywhere, whenever you want. There's so many shows. But like for Cam 212, like he has such limited choice, man. So like, you have to pick your battles. We just keep putting him in the harder shows just because why the fuck not, right?
The only way to get better is to go against better competition, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm more emotionally connected to those shows now, I think. I think we have to choose something else.
You gotta know when to stop being loyal, Cam. Sometimes other shows might be better. You experience more. The more you fuck around, the more you find out. Someone asked your thoughts, Dean, on EQ, and if you'd run it in if you have a preference for off season or prep for the use of it.
I mean, the landscape of Australia at the moment is kind of changing in the necessity
force change
for certain uses. Yeah, it's just there. It still goes down my list of probably things that I would try or would be wanting to use, because it just doesn't make as much sense to me as the other drugs to introduce. And when I say that, you know, so like ideal world, it would be as much testosterone as you can handle, then load in as many other like non-risky, less risky drugs as you possibly can, which are just typically the DHT derivatives, right?
Yeah.
But in the absence of those being available, and you're trying to work up milligrams, EQ like is really not any different to testosterone, at least in regards to its structure and how it functions. So I don't see an advantage to adding it on top of testosterone unless somebody is like particularly sensitive to aromatization, and or you have somebody who just seemingly, for whatever reason, does have an impact at the aromatase enzyme, and they seem to convert less. I think there's a bit of a mistake most of the time with people's like understanding of EQ, and that they think, although I've seen this in blood work, so I'll just throw this down as an anomaly and say that this does happen, in that you can put EQ in and you'll see less estrogen. But it's less to do with, I think, EQs being people will say it's an aromatase inhibitor. It's less to do with that, and more so just to do with the fact that it converts less. So you're just not getting as much aromatization. But there are like unique individuals that I've seen when we've put it in, that estrogen has gone backwards, but that's just technically not what should happen. So I don't see as big an advantage to it. And even though it's rodent research, like we at least have some indication that there might be like a higher affinity for nephrotoxicity or like kidney toxicity. So then if we go into all of these drugs, we really have to ask ourselves, like, which side effect or which potential side effect are we willing to bank on the most? Kidneys, we have one. Well, one chance at keeping them. I should say we obviously don't have one. We have two, but so that's not the ideal situation.
EQ's got some neurotoxicity too, doesn't it?
Not as much as this is the trade-off. Not as much as what 19 North seem to.
Yeah.
So if I'd say
talk about all drugs can have neural effects.
100%. There's no question that all androgens and anabolics will have a degree of neurodegeneration over time. That's a blanket statement that exists that's reality. So, but then the question is which ones have a higher affinity? It seems to be the case that maybe the nandrolone might also do that. But I think where people are probably getting lost in the weeds at the moment is the biggest impact of these is largely exposure time. So in a landscape where there's less availability of DHTs, which seemingly have the lower risk profile for secondary side effects, the ones that we don't want, non-muscular ones. If you had to leverage another drug and one of those is like a nandrolone, is it ideal? No. Is leveraging EQ ideal? No. Okay, but which one am I willing to trade off on here? Well, I already have testosterone, so that testosterone backbone is pretty much covered by testosterone. So why would I then go and use EQ? It's essentially similar. Oh, well, I don't have a 19 nor, and nandrolone has some potential additional benefits, and some people tolerate it very well. Not everyone does though, so asterisk that for a second as well. Well, the exposure time for this now might only be 12 months worth of use. Interchange too, in and out. So it might actually only be 6 months of use. So is 6 months of use and 6 years of use really that significant? I would argue not. And we at least have a lot of human research on nandrolone. So we can actually leverage that and say, and there's some additional benefits. But in an ideal world, I probably wouldn't use it that much. I don't think it aids much benefit beyond testosterone. I used to in the past, for individuals that were super, super testosterone sensitive to the aromatase, then I would leverage that as an additional milligram. But then I shifted that to more DHTs and just less testosterone. But I'm actually got quite a few guys now that are using more testosterone than they probably ever used to.
Yeah,
which I think was
I just people they rely on drugs too much with dosages and what other people do. And I think drugs are so highly individual because like you were saying with what do you use, nandrolone or EQ? You could stack test and DECA together, but that's a lot of estrogen. You put EQ in someone, but then it could raise their hematocrit and get high blood pressure. So it's all individual basis, and that's the importance of coaching. If you don't know what you're doing.
Well, it's test measure. That's all it is,
Yeah.
I've had people where I've tested and measured twice or on 3 occasions, 70 milligrams of trembolone fucked their sleep within no time. So I was okay, that drug is no longer being used for you.
70 for the week?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
out. Okay, it's gone. I'm not willing to lose sleep for 70 milligrams of a drug. There's no way 70 milligrams of trembolone is better than somebody who sleeps and can take 300 milligrams of any other drug. So it really depends. And it's the same. I've had a client recently, we tested at NPP and he had some nipple sensitivity and swelling on it almost instantaneously. We took it out, we put it back in, we took it out, we put it back in, confirmation 3 times. Cool. This drug sucks for you. Sorry, man. And so I'm in a position now with a couple of guys where I'm actually using higher testosterone and arimidex or aromatase.
Yeah.
You
got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And again, this is a test and measure. So my comment there is all right, well, maybe these things are detrimental to lipids, which is a problem. These aromatase inhibitors. All right, well, what is the worst thing you can do with an aromatase inhibitor? Use too many to the point where you tank estrogen, because estrogen is cardioprotective, all organs protective, basically, right? So we want a degree of estrogen. All right, well, I'm willing to push test up and use an AI if you're willing to get bloods every 4 weeks for me to make sure that we're not tanking this. And if the answer to that is yes, and we check lipids, if lipids are okay, estrogen is in a good spot, energy is good, libido is good, this is no worse than doing 500 milligrams of test and 1,000 milligrams of a DHT versus, say, doing 750 milligrams of test here and using a little bit of an AI every couple of days just to keep it in check. At least I would argue anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like people took the safer use method out of context a little bit, and they got to the point where they thought they can slam as much DHT as they want and there's no side effects. And they don't have to, don't have to worry. It's it might be a better option, but there's still side effects. And if that option's not available and you have to use Arimidex, it's not that much worse.
Yeah. I feel like if you can run a higher estrogen without any side effects like high blood pressure or gyno or anything, like you want to run it on the higher end because it's going to help growth. It's going to help, like you said, longevity. It's better if you have like, people that try to always run it low because they think they look dry or something. I'm like, you can't do that year round.
Yeah, I mean, for me, man, drug use for any of my guys is just like cause and effect, and like, what am I trying to achieve? You know, like, and even then, like being willing to say, I don't know if more drugs is better. Like Ethan even spoke about this in his. He said it was the least amount that he'd ever taken, which is true. And it was because, man, like when we started dieting, and he was on like a reduced like AAS exposure phase, but not like by no means TRT because we had limited time. And it was like he just kept getting like he was still heavy. He was 103, 104 kilos on, you know, whatever it was. And then it was no, then he's 102, then he was 101. I'm like, okay, like I'm not going to go and put more drugs in now. Like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
And by the end of it, he was like, am I going to need this? I'm like, I don't think so. Like, am I going to use this? I'm like, I don't think so. Like I'm just going to keep rolling this and just see how it goes. And it was the best sleep that he ever had, the lowest amount of like, you know, fatigue that he ever had. And this is the one thing that people need to realize with drug use is that if it's driving a negative outcome, no matter what you think it achieves for you physically, it's never as good as what sleep and all the rest of it does.
Yeah. I've got with my missus, she's running test mass and MPP at the moment, and we have to pin MPP every second day on the days we don't pin test mass, or she'll just get all itchy at night when she sleeps. There's something about the things together. I've never heard that before, but we tried it the other night because she forgot to pin. She said Dad went to hospital, unfortunately, but everything was all right. So she wasn't there to pin. I went to bed, and I pinned her the next day. Different pins still, and she still got itchy. I'm like, yeah, that's weird. Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, unless there's just some histamine response that's happening because of the total.
That's what I'm assuming, or it might be maybe one of the carrier oils is. But then pinning them separately doesn't do anything. So yeah, it's a combination of something causing some IgE reaction, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Interesting. I stay out of the female space. I know my place.
I had a question for you.
Yeah.
How has your peaking athletes developed over the years? And like, this is something we spoke about on the last podcast. Are you at a stage now where you can look at a body or someone's physique and go, I think this would be the best strategy for them?
In regards to like choosing if I was to like load them, backload, front load with fats, without fats.
Yeah. Like backload, front load without fats, like cut water, like, you know, like manipulated salt, whatever, like, you know what I mean? Like, and any type of like, has it become easier for you just to like be like, I think this is what I'm going to do without running like mock peaks, I guess.
I mean, there's certainly a skill element to it. I think that maybe I've gotten better at knowing the look for each person, but I think it would be naive of me to say that I think that it's me just looking and going, that's it, because I have so much history with most of the guys that I'm competing at, that I'm coaching. You know, like we've done multiple peaks, Cam. So like, yeah, I kind of know, like, and like it's same with Ethan. Like I know based on the look, but I only know based because of what I've learned over the years with them, not necessarily because I have this like eye for an individual. Whether or not I could look at somebody who I've never seen before would be the real question, I suppose. And I mean, maybe, but I don't think so. I still, man, like, and it was actually kind of nice to hear this. I appreciate that people have the art of coaching, but I think like in an aceto approach, I think you probably just don't see that there's far more mistakes made in those issues, in those individuals, because they don't talk about them than what the reality is. And we only see the successes for the most part.
Well, that's because the biggest downs are the biggest ups. So you're so consistent, it's hard to be like, oh my God. Whereas they have oh my God moments, even though you still do as well, but it's because you're so consistent, you have never, those low peaks aren't there for your coaching.
Yeah, there's just not as much variation. Like, you know, everything's dialed in so much for the last like 2 weeks that it's much easier to determine this. But I don't think I can. I don't think if you gave me a person I've never seen before and like gave me 5 days with them, I could just say like just figure it out. I mean, I might get lucky just by sheer skill, but I think it would probably be pretty arrogant to say that I could just guess. And I still am now very much like I went through a phase actually like where if I went to an in-person like peak, I felt like I would be rushed sometimes. Like, oh, like someone looks at you and you're like, cool, yeah, you need this. You know, they're like, what do I need today? And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Now I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to go to my room. I'm going to get on my computer. I'm going to think about what that look was. And then I'm going to like look at my stuff and I'm going to confirm that I think my thought was right. And then I'm going to do that. And that's pretty much how I dealt with you in America. It was like, this look is a bit different. And then I'd be like, I know what we did yesterday, but let me go look at it. And then I'd be like, I'll give you, I think we'll do this.
Do you find sometimes you'll go through all the data, just sort of let it sit in your head, you'll go and do something else. When you come back, you're able to kind of like make a better decision with it?
No, I sit and go through scenarios until I'm complete, until I'm okay with my decision.
Okay.
I don't step away, because sometimes when I step away, there's too many things going on in my head that when I come back, I have to start again.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. For me personally.
Are you like someone who has to get all the work done in the day and you relax at night? So I think you can't relax to work all the work's done. Like you have to finish something, move on.
Pretty much, man. I pretty much work until I'm finished and then I go train. I used to train at a particular time and then come back and finish work. Sometimes I'll do a maximum of 3 check-ins post training, just depending on how my day is situated.
And who the person is?
No, not really. No.
Yeah. Because you might be like, I'm not doing any prep ones post training or something, or I'm going to do off season. Or something.
Oh, they're always done first. Yeah.
Okay.
Because of time zone stuff. So like usually, you know, when I wake up, it's your 4 or 5 p.m. or something like that. So if they're in prep, they're going to get the first one from me, so they get it before they go to bed. Anybody else is then going to get moved along until the last one, so they get it while they're asleep, but then they wake up in the morning to it. Yeah.
So another question I got for you is, I don't know if you probably see it because you've probably gone on socials a lot, but do you think that training these days is starting to be way too complicated with everyone doing all these movements and worrying about stress positions, and they've got to have a million different attachments? And do you think it's going a bit too far, or do you think it's justified?
I think for most people, the answer is probably no, because I think the average person who is a competitive bodybuilder isn't doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
I just think on social media, we have this perception that there's a lot of fuckery going on, and there is, but they're like realistically the minority. That stuff certainly is like, you know, like rage bait type shit. Like, I saw some kid doing external rotations on a fucking seated row machine somewhere in Australia. Like, cool, man. Like,
no, wasn't he doing
good
the
luck with that.
hyperextension on it or something?
Done that to same machine. Yeah, same kid. Like,
fantastic. And then the foam rollers over the arms and
Keenan flaps, bullshit, like all this stuff. Yeah. Like all that stuff is certainly too far. And it's like missing
no one's doing that.
Yeah. And would you say
nobody's actually in results getting it?
Yeah. Would you say nutrition is as important as training when it comes to bodybuilding?
As important, do you say?
Yeah, as important. So they go hand in hand. You can't, like, one's not more important than the other.
Well, I mean, you can't get bigger without training. So training would have to be classified as the most important for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like tissue doesn't grow without stimulus. So there are a lot of people out there that have fairly average like nutritional practices that do exceptionally well as bodybuilders.
Yes.
There's probably less people that are exceptionally good with their food who train like absolute wimps that don't get particularly great results. Mm-hmm. So if I had to like rank it, I would say that training is the single most important thing for muscle growth. But if you're talking about like somebody who can do it very well for a very long time with predictable results, then they obviously marry up together. Like you can't have greatness with one without the other to a degree.
Would you say training first, nutrition closely followed, drugs last?
Yeah, drugs just dial everything up.
Yeah. You know, there's most gym weekend warriors, drugs here, then I worry about the food and the training.
Which works always in the beginning, you know?
Yeah, until they hit a start.
It always does.
Yeah.
Like,
because you see them
always works in the beginning.
They've been in gym my whole career and they haven't changed. Yeah, they don't change. They're like literally they hit a point and then you see them year after year exactly the same.
The skin just gets a bit redder.
The drugs are a little bit more important.
Another question I have is outside of bodybuilding, I don't because you're a man who likes to think and ponder. What do you ponder on the most? What's the most thing that draws your attention other than bodybuilding?
Cooking techniques and weird stuff like that, probably.
And he's gonna say food.
Like I woke up this morning like and my frustration with my inability to learn Spanish, like as if it's like a really easy thing to do. that bothers me. It's actually the first thing in my life that I've really struggled with, and it's unraveled me a bit. So it's been like a quite an interesting experience. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not a deep thinker. I don't think. That's a weird sentence to say. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not a particularly deep thinker.
But are you conscious of your own thinking?
Yes, in that I have internal dialogue with myself. I learned that this is actually not even a particularly common thing with everybody. Like I have legitimate conversations internally with myself.
Yeah, like, do you think about a thing? You're like, why did I think? Why did I think? Why did I come to that conclusion? Or why did I think that way about that? Those internal thoughts.
No, I'm not somebody who second guesses things a lot like that, or even questions things like that. I have a lot of conversations around what more do I want, or is this, it's more about the decision making process of my day-to-day life, and then also like where I want to be, and like whether or not I'm quite happy with our setup here with like food and business and money and all these, which I am. And then there's a lot of thinking about like how are we going to like solidify this current lifestyle that we live, which is just another thing. So
maintain security. Well, so but you like me, like you think about those deep things sort of deeply as well. Like obviously financial, you need it because otherwise you lose your structure. But what about when it comes to little things? Well, like sometimes I find myself thinking just as deep on things like when you're chopping up days for your cream, you're like, oh, I should have one more. And sometimes you overthink. Do you ever overthink those things? Like, what am I thinking about this?
I don't think so. No. No. If anything, it would be like techniques. Like I will go through like what I think are cooking techniques, or I'll watch cooking based techniques, or like I watch some boring ass shit, man, like knife sharpening videos. And
do you watch Binging with Babish, that cook guy?
No.
The home chef.
Yeah,
he's good.
He's good.
He's good.
Yeah,
he's good. Watch Binging with Babish.
Yeah, he's got like this real monotone voice. It's like, oh, it's good. It's like really. Good. I got stuck on it on one of the preps I did a few years ago, and I watched like his whole YouTube video, his whole channel. It's good.
Very monotone voice.
Yeah, he's got a unique style of like video, but he'll make like food from TV shows and movies, and people send him random things, and he'll make like
and he'll do things like 10 ways to fuck up pancakes. So like, should you have the pan too hot or too cold? Should you leave the dough overnight? Or you try all these different things to be like,
make it with like the most expensive flour. He'll import he'll make pizza with some imported water, and then he'll make it with really cheap shit, and he'll show the difference between it. And it's good. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, and I think he's just got a new series now where like he gets a bit high and he tries people's weed snacks.
You'd be all over that.
Yeah, one of the biggest ones was Gatorade and red wine, and he was actually loved it. He's like, Gator wine.
I knew a guy used to do red wine and Coca-Cola.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
And it was called something.
Making it bubbly then.
I mean, you obviously don't like red wine. Like, why are you drinking it?
Yeah, well, it's like mixing.
Maybe it was easier to drink than vodka. So,
do you drink alcohol?
Very infrequently. I mean, last night we went to a little local place here called Apothecary, which is like a speakeasy bar, and had a whiskey cocktail, which was nice. I like whiskey. I quite enjoy whiskey. I think it's delicious.
Single malt?
I don't drink it frequently, no. Yeah. But I have like one bottle in this house because it'll take me over a year to drink the whole thing. That's for sure. Probably two. I mean, I bought it here like over 12 months ago, and it's still like a quarter full. So I used to have like a really nice whiskey shelf when I was in Australia. And then when we sold our house, when we rented the house, we gave it to the lady who rented it. It was like, do you drink whiskey? She's like, yep. I'm like, well, enjoy, She was like, fuck yeah, this is the best. So there's probably like 10 or 12 bottles there that I would just accumulate over time.
Yeah. I don't think obviously none of you guys drink. I'm not a big drinker. I never really was, but my brother loves single malt whiskey because he's into all that world. He loves that stuff. And Japanese sake as well. Man. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. Same as cigars. You don't smoke either, do you?
No, cigars I've never understood. They don't smell particularly interesting to me.
Your connoisseurs in coffee and food.
Coffee and food would be my two, things within that space that I'm really interested, mainly in probably like various techniques for cooking meats. Like I do miss barbecuing. That I would like to do again.
Like you're talking
But
about like Texas barbecue?
charcoal
Oh,
barbecue, yeah.
charcoal barbecue. Like the
They
old
don't barbecue much over there, or
Here, no, they don't barbecue much here at all, actually. But like also like because we move, I just don't have the setup. We're actually looking to try and possibly buy a place here and renovate it, which will be an experience in itself in Spain because everything's so fucking slow.
have
Like
you
it'll
seen
be
in
like
like
a 2 year build.
in other parts of Europe, like Germany, especially, they have like you'll buy like the little portable barbecue. It's like foil, and it
It's
comes with the coals
disgusting.
in it, and the yeah, but it's so
They're
popular over there. And
they're
they'll
gross,
go to
man.
the park and they'll light it up and they'll cook some food and then they throw it in the bin.
you know,
Yeah,
I
we
miss the
bought one.
old
We bought one in Australia.
I
Oh,
miss the
really?
old
I've
kettle
never
weather.
seen them here.
Yeah, yeah,
The
they're
old
in
sucks.
Bunnings, man. We went and did it on Burley Hill one day, and
Okay.
like they don't get hot enough. So then you get this like really toxic smoke that comes off the like the briquette, the what are they called? Yeah, briquettes. It was gross, man. So then the meat kind of tastes like the smoke and that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
The,
once we have like a setup here, I'll probably get myself another like charcoal barbecue that I can smoke on as well because
yeah.
I really did enjoy that. Yeah.
The old to me, nothing beats my dad's old Sunday roast growing up when the old kettle webbers with the shh at the
Yeah,
bottom. Oh man,
yeah.
the veggies and everything that was things aren't the same anymore. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, you
What's
can
the
still buy this.
price? Yeah, I know, but it's like the family was together and those moments being a kid, you just can't get the replicate of that.
Yeah.
What are the house prices like there for like land and a house? Is it affordable or is it just bad like here?
Land in Europe is not, this doesn't really exist.
Mm.
It's not the same
So
as like it is, and even in the UK, it's not the same as in Australia where you're buying property and a house on it.
yeah.
Here, you're mainly buying just the house because most of it is terraced. There's very few like freestanding homes, unless you're like maybe out in like rural areas. I'm not really
Yeah,
sure.
we call the
Um,
Torrance title.
but like, I mean, it the prices vary, man. Like in Spain, you can buy some pretty cool stuff for like a decent price, but it really depends on where you are. Portugal's the
Yeah,
same. Like it really depends, man. Like the UK is outrageously expensive.
yeah.
Um,
Because obviously you have
like
your good
outrageously
suburbs and
expensive.
your lower class suburbs as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And like with everyone, like there's areas that have been gentrified that are coming up that are more expensive than what they probably should be, but they're going to be like really good places. So,
yeah,
like the one thing that I've learned, man, is like every country I've ever been to, every person in every country says that it's too expensive and that inflation is too high and that the police
yeah.
are corrupt. And it's all, everyone says the same fucking thing, no matter where you go.
Oh, you mean people that have victim mentality?
No, it's just that it's like it's the same rhetoric. It's the same
Yeah,
rhetoric everywhere. It's like, yeah, of course prices are rising. Although I'm saying I saw one of my clients the other day, he's over in Perth. He's like fucking $14 a kilo for capsicum. I was like, damn, that's actually pretty expensive.
mm.
So like
Yeah.
to rub some stuff in for you for Spain at the moment, for example.
Capsicums are out.
Capsicums here would be like $6 a
Yeah.
kilo.
Yeah.
You can get a liter of egg whites for $4. A coffee on average costs around about $3 through to $5. You can
Is
get
that euros?
360. No, I'm
Three to
doing
five
Australian
euros.
dollars for people
Oh,
for
sorry.
conversion.
Yeah.
You can get
So it's like
360
Australia in
IU.
2015.
Yeah. You can get 360 IU a growth homeland here for $400. And that's for everybody, not for some specialty price. Most
crazy.
10 mil vials will be somewhere around $50 to $60.
What's the legality over there of PEDs? It's like it's
Mm.
fine to have, but illegal to sell, or
No, I don't believe it's legal for either. But I don't know how well it's really like
Regulated.
they're not
regulated
Schedule
here.
One.
The UK,
Or police.
the UK's personal use is fine, but you're not allowed to sell. But obviously, like people buy from people. So like, how does that happen?
That's right.
And there's a pretty famous case of like a big supplier in the UK getting done maybe like 18 months ago, and he had thousands upon thousands of bottles, and he also had DNP. He got fined for DNP, and they gave him back the
Who
bottles.
uses DNP still?
Man,
Yeah, because
People do
I
some
listen
crazy
to
things.
the Scott McNally, Dave Crosland podcast. Because obviously Dave Crosland, they get him to see if it's personal use or not. They get him on the court
Yeah.
cases, and he
Yeah.
always talks about the steroids in the news.
Yeah, it's like no real issue there, man. I mean, you can travel with it across board. I mean, I've been from the UK to Portugal with a friend of mine before, and he just rubber banded up all of his insulin syringes for the week, and they pulled them out at security and then took his hair gel and put them back in his bag for him. Like,
But that's in check luggage. You can't take the needles on carry-on.
No, carry on's fine.
Could be dragging
He
the.
literally had a lot of them, man.
Could be potassium shots. You go kill you with them.
Oh, it could be insulin. Like
Yeah,
this is the thing. Like a needle is not illegal.
Yeah.
Um,
I thought they classed it as a weapon.
This is the weird thing is they give you metal forks on planes too. So like,
Yeah, that's true.
But
yeah, coming from Australia, everything gets banned. So I'm just used to things getting banned.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even take cream or ice through because of the liquid in Australia. Whereas here, you can take cream or ice wherever you want.
Mm-hmm.
I'll still. There needs to be a brand here. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet. They'll make the flavored cream or ice because there's a market for that here.
Well, I think.
I mean, there were. It's just that it's expensive.
I think Strum importing Elevate now. I just saw.
Yeah, like he's again trained by JP and like Elevate and
yeah.
It's coming.
It's not hard to make it. If you just had stevia and cacao powder or something, it's pretty easy to make chocolate butter cream or ice. But people are lazy.
$35 a kilo or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
To be fair, I just prefer regular rice flour with whey in it.
Yeah, which is like what $5 a kilo from the Asian shops. Cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're prepared to, I mean, obviously the advantage of the flavored one is you can eat meat and veg and then have cream and rice on the side, which is fun. But it's a novel thing to do.
Yeah, you can have it savory, really.
Nowhere near good.
You can just make it and put a bit of salt on it and put your meat in it. It'd be like mashed potato.
Yeah, it's like polenta, basically. You can do corn maize and it's the same.
Yeah, polenta's good. I like polenta.
Yeah. Watery mashed potato, maybe.
Yeah, watery mashed potato. Bodybuilding mashed potato where it's just potatoes mashed, no cream, no butter, no nothing. Shitty. So what's the 2026 plan? Do you obviously got like a 5-10 year plan like business, or do you just let it roll on, don't really think about it too much? Or you got things you want to, like you've got KPIs you want to achieve?
Mate, I can tell you confidently right now that Liz and I have never once had a business meeting. We've never once had a discussion around how much money we want to make. Not a single one. We've never had a discussion about how much money we want to save each week. Anything like that. We talk about lifestyle stuff and we talk about like what we would like to have, and then we determine whether or not it's like possible. But the one thing that we will never ever soften on is doing more work for more money that we don't need.
Yeah.
So like I've capped my client list at 40 for fucking 10 years, and it's I maybe sometimes will do 42. I will never go more. I typically will sometimes allow it to go less. I'm just not interested in trading time for money to a point, So we don't have any of these, man. Like, I mean, we're lucky in that we're not big spenders. We don't buy nice things. Like we spend most of our money on accommodation, because it's important for us to have like for me to have an office, for example, like I have a really cool office up here in this place. And that's where most of our money goes on is accommodation, realistically. And eating out, like they're the things where our expenses go. So as for the only plans that I have really are usually like professional plans, and that like or goals, but they're not hard and fast. It's just always centered around like trying to get the most out of people. Like this year, I would really like to have multiple people qualified for the Olympia. I've always wanted to have at least one, and to have earned that, because like I went to the Olympia with Danny from America, but he was already qualified before we started working together, which was really cool to do, but like not as like that pathway satisfaction. This year, because I know I'm going to be there now and it's so early, like I'm really, really like hell bent on getting multiple people there. And I don't even know if like maybe even like, I immediately said it to Cam. I immediately said it to Tom. I immediately said it to people that I know that want to compete this year. I've got a couple other guys who are a little bit unsure of whether or not they'll do a show this year. Where I'm just like, now's we need to find this spot for you to get this in. And I don't even know if they've noticed like my intention behind like the week is like, motherfucker, don't miss, like we've got a goal. Like this needs to happen, and even to the point where like if I don't have guys be as successful in season A maybe this year, I'll be pushing a lot to try to do exceptionally well for season C so that they can come across and do the amateur. So that for me, like end of year is like I think that's going to be an absolutely fucking mega month.
Yeah, because we were talking about that. Because if Dave doesn't the state show, because Dave said he might do the amateurs because you're going to be there for Ethan. The only problem with it is like you can't do nationals then because of the
it's like a 5-day turnaround for nationals.
I would have to, because I worked it out. I would have to get on a plane the night of nationals and fly to America, and then I would have to do my check-in the next day.
Yeah, because it'll
Which
more
is
than
like,
likely be the
it's
20th or the
just stupid.
21st.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
not
I'll say
doable.
this
But
right now. I could do it, mate. No problems. I could get somebody to the fucking other side of the country peeled, or the other side of the world peeled. No problem.
Do it,
Like,
Dave. Do
that's
it.
not an issue. The fun thing they think about though is like you have some guys, let's just say, the goal is the pro card. All right. So they buy all of this stuff to go do the amateur, and then they win at nationals, and they get on a plane like, that was fun. Like, but now what am I doing there? Like, I don't fucking know.
go over
I'm
to
just having a
Vegas and
holiday.
eat some sushi.
Yeah.
You're basically having a holiday,
Holiday in
Yeah.
Vegas.
So I'd love to. I think I've definitely got people that have got the opportunity and the potential to turn pro again this year in Australia. There's no doubt in my mind about that, and I've definitely got a collection of pros that I think can actually win pro shows this year and get qualified again. So, and then like George's wheelchair guy Blake is certainly like lined up to get back to the Olympia, I'm sure, in the next 12 months. So ideally it'll be myself, George, maybe the other coach who we announce in January as well. It'd be fucking awesome to have an entire team there. That would
I feel like
be
it's going to
amazing.
be like a big Flex success get together at the Olympia, regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's a really cool opportunity there to make that Vegas trip a fucking banger. So that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it's going to be a big year. I think it's about all of us competing. Dave, Cam, me, my missus, all doing shows.
When are you due back up again?
I'm doing season A under Cam, and
cool.
I want to do. I got to get to go against Big Dave for the first time. He's doing the state show as well. And I'll be actually training with him at his shed as well, his home gym. But then I'll probably do career amateur road, try to go pro there, just in case I go nationals. Because I really love to go pro because my missus wants to do the Romania show again, so I'd love to do that jump in and do the pro show with her.
Yeah. Romania's a cool place.
Yeah, I love Bucharest. I don't know. I really like. I'd love to go back there. I love Japan as well. Japan's still probably my favorite place in the world at the moment.
It would be in my handful of top places that I would recommend anyone to go and visit at least once in their life. That's for sure. Yeah,
I love the structure and the cleanliness. I love that.
Yeah, and the people are very respectful.
Yeah, that's what I love as well. No, there's nobody like on their phone all the time. I love public transport. It's like everyone's quiet, just to themselves. It's good.
No.
So what shows is there like a good run of shows other than the same ones for Cam to do pre-Olympia?
Right now, they've only really released the American ones.
Oh, okay.
So in January, we'll probably start to get a bit more of a look into like what's available for European shows and or like extra American shows.
Because there's not many 212 shows over the year, is there?
No,
and then 12 in total.
12.
Yeah, they're also not close together typically, except for those few. Cam and I had originally spoken about maybe like extending his growth season now to the point where he would then do shows post Olympia this year versus pre.
Yeah.
But that course may change.
Dean doesn't like that. Dean doesn't like
where we're at, and like the progress at the moment is obviously mega, and I don't see why there won't be still enough progress to have made enough progress to then do very well. It'll just be a matter of like looking at the timeline.
Well, if you can wait,
the good thing now they're like with Cam. Now I can get Cam peeled in 12 weeks, no problems, anytime. Whereas this is one thing that's probably different with my pro guys. There's very few guys that in my amateurs that I'd be willing to diet for 12 weeks. Most of my pro guys are actually doing much shorter preps because, quite a few of them are weight capped, so that's a problem. And then it's just that the way that the years work out for someone like Cam too is that if he wants to get the most growth out of it, he can't afford to do a 24-week prep because that would be like fucking 20. That'd be half the year that he spent doing some form of dieting. So
and then that's right. Yeah. Because I was going to say, if you can push through, you can do Romania with us. We'll go to Romania. You can do Prague,
when's
Portugal.
that due?
Yeah,
that's November 7th, 6th. It's just after Olympia.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking Prague and Romania, but we might do those too.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. Prague's one of the fucking coolest places. That would be sweet. Romania still has one of my favorite pastrami sandwiches around the world, actually.
Yeah. I love that this old lady had made this. She made a rice pudding gelato. Oh, fuck, I remember. I want to go back just to get that. It was just nothing. And I've had nothing's too sweet over there. All this stuff's sort of more savory.
Yeah.
That's what
it's one of the highest like per capita cities I've been to for coffee. They have over 300 specialty coffee places just in Bucharest.
I was walking a different one every day getting coffee.
It's wild, man. But they're
Yeah.
actually expensive given that it's Romania.
Yeah.
So, question with like the guys that you've been coaching lately, what have you seen? Like, because everyone seems to be getting more out of less lately, like less drugs, less food, less training. Like, when is that? When have you seen that switch sort of happen?
The less food thing for me is probably something that's like I've been noticing like over the last 2 years or something like that. And I would attribute that primarily to like people taking like their sleep seriously. That would be the biggest one. And also like less error in their tracking and less error in their food, in that they become a little bit more like regimented and like consistent. So there's less noise, you know. So like you can probably just say like it's easier to know how much food you need when you're eating pretty much the same things most days. Less drugs is that's like a yes and no. For some people, that's the case, but not for all. But probably less in prep, but maybe a little bit more in growth phases is probably been like an approach that I've taken with some people, not all people. But I think like because like even like Dave said, I think my guys are so dialed in. There's really no one at the moment that isn't. Like because of that, it's just that the results are just as expected. You know, like there's a sufficient amount of food for a sufficient amount of training stimulus and a sufficient amount of drugs. And then like
Probably
it's just
not
I think
less,
just like
it's just you're not having to overdose to make up for incompetency.
yeah, that for sure. And like the progress happens every week. So then it's like, well, why do I shift the needle on one of these just yet? And then I think it's just like really well timed and smart layers of escalations. I think that's the one thing that I probably have like learned the art of very quickly, but have like dialed up even more, is knowing when's an appropriate time to add food, when's an appropriate time to add drugs, when's an appropriate time to add volume. And those things are becoming a little bit more like I suppose you're like refined. And because of that, the results are just repeated. They're repeatable and predictable. But like it's not too far from the needle though, to be honest. Like Cam, like we're talking like if I was to put numbers on it, like I may have had guys in the past that needed to eat like 50 times their body weight in calories to grow. But usually they were also like a little bit higher in body fat at that time. You know, whereas now I might be getting those same guys to grow on 40 to 45 times their body weight. But their body fat is also less. So I think it's just that we're like learning to like push to a degree and then pull back before we have to force food to keep forcing weight gain. And like I'm probably more willing now to like cut a growth phase slightly short, but with less body fat, so that I only have to just like tidy up the appetite for a couple of weeks so that we can go again. And because of that, there's just not the same length of time as well, you know, spent in a surplus, because as you like spend longer and longer in a surplus and you become technically less efficient at like, you know, growing tissue, because maybe there's a little bit of like a change in like the protein to fat ratio of gain. You're just having to push more food to get more growth because the environment is not as efficient.
And do you
I
find
just don't
that
think
keeps
I've had time
people,
to spend there as long.
does that keep people like mentally in a better place as well when you're not pushing for so long, so hard?
Yeah, there's certainly less, like it's a little bit like, yeah, I suppose like tighter. You can see light at the end of the tunnel, especially guys that run into appetite issues or digestive issues. I really only have one or two guys that I do very long growth phases with at the moment, and that's just because it plays to their psyche. You know, like Kuba does like a 28-week growth phase. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say Kuba's the one.
Yeah,
but he's also, I don't think he had an off-plan meal until he went to
Like
an event
7 weeks
in Italy.
Yeah.
In Italy, yeah. It was the first time he had one. You know, it was because John asked him to go out for dinner and he was like, I should probably do this. You know?
Yeah.
Because I know the P ratio thing is like you gain as much muscle no matter what body fat to a degree, but I've seen and experienced that it's just because you're carrying extra weight, like you said, your physiology is not as good, and just carrying the extra weight, it's not, the gains just aren't as clean, and it affects more things than you think. You know, training, you just stress on the body, sleep.
Well, this is it, right? So muscle growth is somewhat rate limited, as is like, this is one thing that people fuck up in peak weeks, that glycogen replenishment is rate limited too. Like you can't load somebody. Everybody has a different degree of sensitivity to being loaded, but you can't load somebody sufficiently with too little of time because it's rate limited. Like, you know, like if for example, I had to like diet someone into the ground to get them to weight and they had 24 hours to get back, it's going to be fucking difficult to get that person properly full. But you also don't need to be full in order to look full. It just, you know, that's the individual variability there. But yeah, like there's a rate limiting factor to growth of tissue. And I think like the fatter you get, the less hard, the more hard it is for you to see where you're growing. That's for one. So then you're relying on the scale. And then as you start to like try and push further and further and further and further, it all kind of just gets a little bit lost. You don't really know what's what. And then before you know it, you know, you don't, it's the same coming out of prep. You don't know that you've gained fat in your armpit or, you know, on your fucking cranium or between your butt cheeks. And then it's like, oh, all of that gain. And then all of a sudden there's more fat that's being gained somewhere else. And it's like, fuck, I took that 4 weeks too far. And you made a very good point is that as soon as the approach that you're taking starts to then shift resting heart rate up, shift blood pressure up, which then causes poor sleep, which then increases blood pressure, which increases resting heart rate, which decreases nutrient assimilation. It makes you sloppier in the gym. Like, like you're trying to push shit up a hill, to use the you know, very Australian term. And it's just like you're better off cutting your losses and starting again.
So you say, would you say one of
some guys? Do you find that some guys think it's like hardcore to push through that? Like, don't just block out the noise, or this used to be the old mentality of like you have to get uncomfortable in the off season to grow. Like,
I'd say that still exists to a degree, for sure. Or like the fear of pulling back, of like missing out on gains. That's probably one that I deal with more now because my guys stay leaner. There's always like, I think I still feel good, and I'll try it out for most people. But most of the time, like, let's just say, you know, camp, let's say I know that you're pretty good for like somewhere between 12 and 16 weeks, right? And we get to week 15, you're like, you know what, bro, I'm actually fucking good. And I'm like, okay, like we'll give it 2 more. And then you get to 17 or 18 and you're like, okay, I'm fucked. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let's pull back. Like, okay, did I gain that much muscle in that 3 weeks? And how much fatigue did I accumulate? And I as the coach then obviously have to realize like which one's going to give me the most amount of like profit for Cam 12 months from now, not the next 4 weeks, like, because that's I think where people get fucked up in bodybuilding is they think about like this week, and this is a big thing that I think people could do if they're not coached or they think about like going into a prep. You can only gain so much muscle in the next 4 weeks. So if you're going to prep anyway and you're starting to get tired, you may as well stop trying to grow now and do 4 weeks extra of dieting, you know, because then you can take more breaks. Man, I'd much rather someone pull a growth phase early and do a longer diet phase into a show than the reverse, because
it seems to me like you're describing a stock market. Like you want to peak, sell at the first sign of a peak, like the 16 weeks, like you said, because then the next 2 weeks you're just going to start sort of dropping around here. So you want to sell it then, and you can have that reinvest it in something else to keep going moving forward. So you cut the growth phase early, right at the peak. When you
or even maybe just before the peak, dude. It's like, you know, like maybe you bought in at $3 and it's currently $7 and you're like, but I want $8. And then if you wait and you get to fucking $8 and it crashes to $5,
it crashes to $5,
you know,
so like, you cut your losses.
Too many people are not happy enough with just making the $7. You know, because most people don't make $7.
But see, then the smart people like Cam and your clients that you've taught them is that they know they can pull it at 7 because in 8 weeks you're going to have them at 9.
Or just that, or they know, like, because history repeats, you know, it does to a degree. Like it at least gives us some insight. You know, like I said, I'm willing to do it. Like normally, if I have somebody, I'm pretty certain that what their like ranges, and if they're doing very well, and all of their metrics suggest that they're fine, and they're not a person who's like just going to dive on the sword because they're hardcore, like Cam you applied. Because there are certainly people that are like this. Like they can't say no. But this is a skill of a coach too, knowing what kind of a client they have. Like, what is their personality type? You know, do they obliged or are they like whatever they are? So like, I have certain personality type like notes that I write on people. Like this person, for example, like if I tell him to fucking jump and he's gonna die, he'll die. So I then have to take responsibility for this person's health now. Because if I ask him, "Are you okay for another week?" he will say yes every time, even if he's dying. There's other people where I'm like, no, this person can tell me. And as soon as they say to me, "Hey, dude, I'm pretty fucked," I'm like, I know they're fucked, you know, because they wouldn't tell me if they weren't. And they're very, but the problem is then there's too many people that also say, "Oh, I'm fucked." And I'm like, no, you're not. Like,
Yeah.
I need a
Yeah.
deload. I'm like, nah, I'm looking at your numbers. You don't need a deload. You haven't even gotten close, you know?
Yeah. So what would you say is over the last like 5, 10 years, one coaching method you've changed differently or look at differently now? Like one thing is that stands out.
I think this is maybe a representation of the demographic of people that I have now, though, but I probably have given a lot more back to my guys in their training progressions, especially from volume. That's the one thing that I do a lot of now. It could almost look like I'm not coaching, I think. But like, you know, the guys that I know are very dialed into their execution, dialed into their intensity markers. I will say to them, this is the baseline. And like Dave and Cam are both great examples of this. This is your baseline. Well, Dave looks after his own program now. And it's like, cool, like take the progress where the progress is necessary to take, but don't take it in the absence of, or, you know, only take it in the absence of progress. Whereas previously, as I may have like been like factoring in some extra work for people, and I'll do this for the people that I don't think that typically get to RIR. Now I'm like, I know that Cam knows how to like lock in this exercise. I know that he knows to take progress here, and I know that he knows this. So I'm giving back a little bit more so that there's this opportunity for me to not just guess of their efforts, but rather to like get some feedback from them. I will say this though, that there's no one out there, and myself included, that won't benefit from a second eye on something. So like, here's the correct. I think if I'll ask you, out of all of my clients, which one do you think would probably be the most locked in with their training execution? If you had to pick one or two.
Cuba or Ethan.
Your Cuba's pretty locked in.
Yeah,
Cam's, I mean,
correct.
Cam's locked in. All your clients are pretty locked in.
And when I ask for video feedback on execution, who do you think gives me the most? The people who do it the most, or the people who need it the most?
Who do it the most?
Yeah, people who do it the most.
Like per meso, I'll have 40 or 50 videos from Cuba.
Yeah.
Now, some of it's for his own benefit. He films it all the time for execution. He's always like assessing his own stuff, and because of that, he just uploads it, right? But like, it's always interesting to me that you can have somebody who everyone's like, oh yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing, but he's still saying, hey Dean, have I got this bicep curl correct? And I'm like, clearly your arms are fucking massive. Like, I don't think you need my advice on arms, mate.
The reason that he got so good is because he has the attitude, and he still has the attitude to get better.
Always looking for a refinement, you know.
Yeah. I like filming myself to even just, like you said, look over it myself. Just be like, oh fuck, I didn't see I could do that there. You know, it's hard. You can't see yourself doing the exercise, but your recording can help you do the exercise better, obviously.
Yeah, and sometimes it just needs a different perspective, you know. Like you know, when a Cam's like, hey Cam, try that reverse like fly that you're doing just 2 notches down. It might be worse, it might be better. But it would be interesting for me to see if you get better from this. And he might be like, man, this is like a 9.5 out of 10 at the moment. And it's like, yeah, but just because you've only experienced a 9, you don't know what a 10 is. But he might also try and go, nah, dude, it was shit. And I'm like, cool, man. At least we tried. Same with posing. Same people, everybody, when they pose, they don't practice, they repeat.
Yeah.
They stand there, they do this, then they do this, then they do this, and they just do the same thing over and over again. And like, sometimes I'm like, can you just like, you know, put your left foot there or put your right foot there or whatever it may be. Let's just see if it's different, you know, and it might look shit. Like we're doing with at the moment. John's using his right foot backwards and he's like, man, I don't have balance. I'm like, you might eventually, but I don't give a fuck because your legs look so much better with your right foot back. It's crazy how much different it looks for you.
Yeah, just because it feels uncoordinated to him at the moment because he's not used to doing it. Yeah, posing is definitely, I think that's probably one of the things a lot of people neglect, especially in the amateur ranks and coming up, is the necessity of posing, how much better it can enhance your physique than what they think. I think it gets a bit lost of how much, you could be at 80% to someone's 100. That's clearly beat you, but then you pose 100% and they only pose 80, you could win.
Yeah. I take it all as equally as important, man. Like I got pros now that have never been asked to change their posing from their previous coaches. Like they don't even look at it or assess it, which is wild to me. You know, like you see elite tier guys on stage that pose like absolute retards because no one's like, and I don't understand, like as a coach, why you wouldn't tell them, hey, like, why do you do that? That looks terrible. Like, because like you can get someone peeled and then they can look fat because they don't know how to like turn their shit on. So like I've had people like say to me, I bet you never thought you'd be given a pro advice on how to pose. I'm like, fucking oath I did. You know, it's one of the things they all do very bad, very poorly. So
do you have any red flags when it comes to when you see a new client line up, you're like, oh, that's a red flag. That's like straight away they're off the waiting list.
A misguided expectation of the reality of their potential within the first 12 months of their like coaching, I guess. That's probably one where someone's like, like they barely even competed before and they're like, I want to turn pro. And I'm like, you've just got the wrong idea of what success is for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a personality test that we have people do when they're on board. And if one of them comes back as a rebel, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
Because they're just typically very difficult to deal with. The name says it. They're the kind of individual that can't be told what to do, but rather have to think that they're choosing what to do. So it becomes a bit of a manipulation process of giving this person like lots of options and making them feel like they've had a choice, which is fun. And it's a bit of a an intellectual wank to win with a person like this. Like it is satisfying.
Reverse psychology.
Make them feel like they're making the decisions.
Yeah, which is it's satisfying to be like, I did this, but it's a lot of work and a lot of energy. And I think that I only take people on now after I've had a call with them. I don't take people on without that anymore because I've been caught out one or too many times now where like it reads very well and then it acts very different.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've got a pretty good read of what people are capable of now and like what their like personality is like. And when there's a lot of blame on anyone bar themselves, that to me is another concern.
That'd be a big red flag when people come and the first thing they want to do is bag out another coach or bag out,
yeah, just a lack of responsibility. I understand that there's sometimes some bad things that have happened, but most of the time there's always like, three sides to a story, as they say. So like if there's an acknowledgement of I could have done this better, but then they did this poorly, like it could be something as simple as like, I previously I got dieted into the ground and I was doing this much cardio. I'm like, cool. So like, did you end up doing it? No. Did you speak to the coach about it? No. Like they just didn't know what they're doing. Okay, so this is a problem. Like you already have communication issues,
What if you had one rule for every bodybuilder, what would it be? Just one statement. Obviously you could think of multiple, but just one. If you had to do like 10 commandments of bodybuilding, what would one of them be? Doesn't even have to be the first one.
One rule. Probably just for the mental health of a bodybuilder. I would say judge the physique, not the person.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you could take a fairly positive lens at your efforts when you're trying to determine, like when you're having like a critical assessment of yourself as a bodybuilder, judge the physique, not the person. I see it too often that guys will align like a perceived negative body part with them being a shit person. And I think this only generates worse results long term than it does positive. Whereas if you can have a critical assessment of the physique and just recognize that it's a point in time that this needs to be improved upon, but you as an individual are a good person and that you do the right behaviors, then you'll generally find more joy in it. And if you don't have any joy in it, then just fucking don't do it, man. Like,
yeah. What's the hardest situation you ever had as a coach where you like, you had your head spinning where you like just can't figure out why this isn't working, and then if you did you did you fix the issue or what it was, or what was the hardest thing you remember that you've had to get over?
The hardest is like if I've had a result that isn't particularly great, like or someone was like on the like a cusp, they had a health issue or something, not necessarily one that I think that I caused. One that I caught, like they're the hardest ones. I've had a couple like that I'm like, I just don't like how that ended. But again, like there's always a couple, like one that ended like reasonably poorly. Like I also knew that he was using drugs that I wasn't giving him, so and other products that he was using. So like again, like the critical assessment there was for me. Like I went through all of my stuff. I was like, was this a problem of application? And I just try to objectively go through like all of my coaching notes and all the rest of it and determine whether or not that was an actual me issue or just a thing issue. They're the toughest though, man, because it's like it hurts to see people not get the result that they're looking for. Like I take a lot of pride in that. It's tough when you see someone suffer for like this and then they don't get the result they're after. That's a tough thing to deal with.
Yeah, it is. It's so good when you see a check-in, obviously, their lifestyle, and they've come from a very happy place, and now they're with a way lighter place. You're so happy for them when they're happy, and so it's obviously the same when you have an athlete that you couldn't get in the condition you wanted to, or you didn't get the expected outcome. Yeah, it sort of just brings you down a little bit after that check-in.
Yeah, I don't think like if you didn't get that, man, you probably don't really care that much.
Mm.
Because like inversely to that, man, I get a lot like there's a lot of gratitude that I have for the role that I've been able to have on not just people as bodybuilders, but even individuals. Like out of my cohort of guys, man, there's a lot of guys now that lives have changed in the 4 years that I've known them. Like
Mm.
crazy amounts, like getting rid of shit jobs, taking on different jobs, finding better lifestyles, getting out of bad relationships, going from struggling to then being this, and then even then there's the physique development on top of that. It's like it's pretty fucking cool, man.
Mm.
Yeah.
It is good. It's definitely rewarding for, like you said, the people who actually love it. The people that love it and people that just treat it as a business.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you got we'll finish off quickly just because we'll soon because everyone's probably getting tired and hungry, and you got stuff to do, I'm sure. What's you got any couple of athletes coming in season A in Australia?
Yeah, man. Yeah, like they're all looking really good already too, man. Like Jai Robson, he'll be going back and he'll probably do classic and bodybuilding again,
Mm-hmm.
but he's already like probably like close to the shape that he was in last year.
Nice.
So he's going to get like a nice little rebound phase for sure. John Hasudis, it'll be his comeback since
Yeah, he's looking good.
competing back then, so
Mm.
he'll be in for season A. And there's a handful of other ones as well that are like all like looking really really good, to be honest, man. Like I'm pretty happy and satisfied with this year so far. I'm expecting some good things. So, but then I don't think I have like any pros that will kick off until probably Ethan in March, actually. So, but then I've got a couple other people like by name that people won't necessarily know that will be in season A as well.
Yeah, okay.
One in Perth, two in Perth, actually. Now that I think about it,
You got Tom's getting ready as well now. Tom Stanley.
Tom started dieting.
Yeah.
We haven't fully locked in or decided his show just yet.
Yeah.
But it'll more than likely be Oklahoma.
Mm.
Back to
That's what he did
those
last
same
time,
shows
wasn't
that
it?
he did
Yeah,
last
the
year.
same shows,
Yeah,
yeah. Because he
more
got
than
second
likely.
in all of them. Because he would have
Yeah,
qualified
man.
for the Olympia under the new rules.
It's
Yeah,
almost like
yeah.
you feel like it's that, like, in Australia, you have the two shows. Like you
Yeah.
have season A and season B. Like you want to just fucking win them. That's like the step to win
Yeah.
them. And then you go and do some like shows in America, and it's
And
like,
that's your
well,
step.
I've got to win these ones now.
Yeah, that's
Like,
your next
and then that's
step.
why you want to just keep going to the same ones because, like, well, that's what it's like. It's kind of what you're
That's
embedded
because
in,
you're
I
Dean's client and you love benchmarks and consistency.
But it's the same thing. Like Tom had a really, 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 really. He loved the Oklahoma show. That was his favorite show of all of them. So he's
Yeah.
just like, man, I just
Yeah.
really like that show. I want to go do it again.
Is that the
Yeah.
one where you get a huge shield?
I don't know which one he got the shield for. It was the one that was like a black and blues. It was like pretty cool back. They had masters there as well.
Legion.
Mm.
No, Legion was first. So Oklahoma was
Yeah.
second, and then I think the last one was he should have fucking. I mean, he won that show. Like that was a
Yeah, it was
that was a
fucking
decent
close.
show. That one.
So close.
No. The third show was against
Oh,
the Persian guy.
Mm.
yeah, I know he
I
came
forget
back
his name.
from after being out.
He
for
was
a
a
while.
2-on-2 guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was annoying too because Tom got judged by Tarek in the Legion show and then in that show, and that show had just terrible lighting, man. And he said to Tom, like, "Oh, if you'd come in the way you did at Legion, like you probably could have taken that." And I was like, "He was 100% better than Legion. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Like, it was just anyway." Yeah. Mo Farah.
That's bodybuilding. That's subjective.
But we also said the same thing, and like
Yeah.
like Cam maybe even probably felt this like 2 years ago as well. It's like, look, you know what? Like, even though you didn't win, you didn't get the qualification. Like, the question is like, would you have been up to the standard at the Olympia then to do like reasonable, where you would classify it as a success? And the answer was probably not right, not yet. So then it would have been like another like 4 months of dieting, which is like time not spent growing. So
Yeah.
as much as it sucked, like again, maybe this is the $7 comment too.
Yeah.
Three out of
Cut the
three seconds
loss.
in your pro debut ain't bad, man.
Yeah.
Probably call that a win and just move on, you know?
But if I ever went
Mm.
second in a pro show for open bodybuilding, I could retire on that. Have hang my
Yeah.
shoes up.
And
Easy.
like the thing, I think it hurt him a little bit actually seeing not Ethan win, but rather the guy that beat Tom came like, I want to say like sixth at one of Ethan's shows.
Right.
But like, you know, like he did that, then he did the Olympia, and then he's gone and done these shows again. And this guy, like, he's just had no breaks. So like, I think now that Tom's that was a moment Tom just went like, motherfucker, I'm getting this qualification this year because like he beat me, and then he just came there and like, I know I can do better than he did at those shows. So
Well, hopefully you
I
have
was speaking on Tom's
is
behalf. He didn't actually say this, but that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Well, you should have Tom
Well, that's like that
qualified.
Felipe,
Hopefully.
that little Felipe dude who won Mexico.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, you know, I beat him in both like Tampa and Texas, and now
Yep.
he's going to Olympia next year. So.
Well,
Yeah.
I have faith that Tom and Cam will be two of your pros. I'm not saying there might be more as well, but I reckon two of them will qualify next year for a Olympia. It doesn't necessarily have to be next year's, but they'll qualify for even Olympia 2027.
So then
Yeah, I mean, I would confidently say that. I don't see why that can't happen at all.
Is Aaron going?
Yeah, what's going on? When's Aaron competing?
Well, Aaron's we should actually be finishing up today, a little diet phase before we're doing a little bit of a rebound. And it's just a matter of choosing the show for him. It's the same for like actually most of mine. Like I'd say I haven't spoken to Paulie about this. Like Paulie will probably be like an end of the next year, maybe early 2020. What year is that? 2027? Yeah. I don't know because like he's got a few kilos that he can still gain. Callum and I haven't actually discussed a show at all just yet because he's just rolling along really, really well.
I've actually been training with one of Callum's clients.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So and then Cooper will be end of year next year.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting year, man. Aaron just said we haven't decided exactly yet. We'll see. And then Danny's obviously coming back from fucking car accident, so that's an interesting one. I mean, I don't know. Talk about a guy. I don't know if you've seen it, but like motherfucker didn't lose any quad mass at all. Barely even lost calf mass. He was in a boot for like 3 months.
Yeah, I heard you talk about him on one of your podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see where he ends up, but he's going to be going into like a big growth phase, and then Kyle will probably do somewhere around the Olympia time ish for his second season. So he moves. He's actually going to go live in Austin, Texas for the next 3 months as of January. So that'll be cool.
Oh wow,
locked in.
I'm jealous.
Those
rocking the American bodybuilding life.
Look wild.
Yeah, so he's going to be staying there for 3 months, and then we'll decide after that because he goes back into a growth phase as of Christmas Day. So
yeah, well, the beauty of like the classic guys is they can just get ready.
Yeah,
and then whatever show lines up with their timeline, they can do.
Yeah, and like if most of the guys like are getting closer and closer to these caps to the point where they just have to not get too heavy, you know. So.
Actually, just touching on that cap thing, you find that like you can look completely different for years and the same weight, still hitting cap. Like there's always refinement to be made.
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah. To
an extent, there is a point in time where certainly people start to get worse.
Yeah.
And also the dieting required to get them there is harder. Like there is certainly a limit to it for sure. Because I've had guys that I've had made weight even in the amateurs before, that I've just had to diet to get them down to weight and not been able to give them much back each time. And they've gotten there and they've been actually pretty lean, but they haven't been peeled, right? And then I've actually got that same person peeled by feeding them more frequently, and they've been heavier. So there is a limit to that to a degree.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like once you hit your cap, you got maybe 5 to 6 years, or 4 to 5 years where you can look your best. Maybe. Yeah,
I think unless you get lean really easily, and consistently with no like asymmetrical fat patterning that requires you to dig really hard to get that last bit off, then it's always going to be better for you just to be bigger.
Yeah, I find it'd be hard to stay motivated in off seasons as well, because you're like, what are you trying to achieve? You're really just waiting for the next prep.
Yeah, pretty much. So thankfully I don't have any guys just there yet, which is good. I mean, Ethan's pretty fucking close, to be honest. Like he's 104 kilos at the moment, and like I could get him ready in 2 weeks. It's just that, you know, so he's going to be one of those people
98?
96.
96.
And like even Kyle turned pro in the under 92s, and then he got heighted in Poland shorter than what he did at the nationals, which meant that his cap was 92, not 95, or 96, what we thought it was going to go up to. So now we're a bit like, you may have just turned pro and not have any weight gain available. So now he's just going to have to be progressively bigger.
He's going to have to loosen quads and put it on his arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, he's 102 kilos at the moment, and like he needs to be 92 technically, which. Yeah. So he will actually probably will get a short growth phase this time and then just start dieting just to see, because I think for him it'll be better off dieting in and out of shape until we pick a show and then just do a quick little refinement. For this very reason, he's actually going to start to like be pretty close. We have to keep checking his height too, and maybe fucking taking out axial loaded squatting or some shit, because if he could be 96, it'd be so much easier.
Yeah, just 3 sets of leg extensions a week.
So we shall see.
We'll call it there because it's getting pretty late for everyone, or it can be late in the midday or morning for you, Dean. Brunch time.
Yeah, 10 a.m., mate.
Yeah. Cam's house is getting dark.
Yeah, it's already 7:15, so yeah. I'm flying to Sydney tomorrow, so I got to start packing.
Oh yeah, that's right, you too. Thanks for coming on, Dean. We may have you again on in the future. Good work on what you've done with all the pros in Australia. You've definitely I feel like you're one of the coaches who's actually made Australia what it is and brought the level up, because all other coaches have had to go up to meet to your kind of standards. So congratulations on your achievements and all your pro wins like Ethan and making everyone go pro, and continue to keep it up.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Thanks to those that are part of the team as well, man. So it's it doesn't go unnoticed to me of how lucky we are at Flex to have the quality that we do, and also just to have the opportunity to get people to where they want to be. So
that's right. Onwards
and upwards and outwards, just not in the waist.
That's why the podcast works, because I got 2 of your clients on it. Makes it the best. All right, take it easy, boys, and thanks for your time. And everyone have a Merry Christmas.
All right,
cheers.